So it's really been, in a lot of respects, a really profound journey. And it's been, like I said, a year and a half in the making. And there's a lot of lessons that I've learned from this experience. I just want to share a few of them with you. The first thing is that any endeavor that you make, any project, anything that you want to accomplish, you don't make a goal, you can forget it. And it's not going to happen. The second thing is you have to have a game plan. You have to, not just a goal, but you have to think through how exactly you're going to get there. Third thing is that even once you set the goal, even once you have got the game plan, there's going to be dips in the road, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be valleys that you've got to traverse and get through. Things are not going to be smooth, and you can't expect them to be smooth. And when those things happen, you have to be willing to reevaluate and find a new direction. You can't assume that just because something worked a couple months ago, it's going to continue working. But maybe the most important lesson for me, and this is where we kind of tie it into the Netzach Yisrael, is that we not only have to accept the fact that there are going to be dips and bumps in the road, but to look at those bumps in the road as opportunities. There are two major themes in Netzach Yisrael. One of them is shleimus, and one of them are completion, completing something. And the other theme is the interplay between exile and redemption, galus and geula. There are two themes that pervade the entire work. And it's no coincidence that those two themes work together. I mean, it certainly implies that there's an inherent connection between the two. So thinking about those two concepts, exile and redemption, and then shleimus on the other hand, it's easy to relate redemption, geula, to completion. I mean, that's how completion comes. But the two seem very inherently related. I mean, redemption inherently means completion. But it's almost interesting that galus plays a role in the entire thing also. And again, it's not a coincidence, because the galus is also part of the process of reaching to completion and reaching shleimus. And I believe that my experience, and this is a profound lesson that I learned, really testifies to that fact. I mean, think about it for a second. Had I not had this bump in the road where I thought the project was dead, and things had just been smooth the entire time, so what would have happened? So I might have finished Netzach Yisrael, but would it have meant that much to me, number one? Number two, look at all the things that I would have missed out on. The motivation, the passion that I look forward to learning every week. And when I finished Netzach Yisrael, would I have immediately looked forward to with enthusiasm, with a passion to start something new? I mean, this is a project that I look forward to taking through for a long time. There's an incredible, the way I approach my learning of Maharal now is an incredible enthusiasm. That's something I would have missed out on. The clarity, the additional insights that I gain because of preparing for the podcast. And the fact that there's more Torah available in the world. So all the things that I mentioned, all the consequences, it's only because things looked bleak, only because I thought that it was dead. It's only because I had to reevaluate, because there was a valley, there was, so to speak, an exile there that forced me to re-examine. The entire notion of this project of the podcast was born, and all the incredible results that when I began this learning the Maharal a year and a half ago, in my wildest dreams, I never would have expected to come about. I never would have even imagined. And I think that's another lesson also, is that unexpected things happen when you undertake something. I had a goal, I had a particular place I wanted to get to. I never expected to get to this place. But when you set out to take something, to do something, and you treat it with a seriousness, and you're willing to reevaluate, HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes a partner in the entire project, and the net result is much greater than you would have anticipated at the very beginning. So I want to end off with a couple of thoughts about shleimus. And it's thoughts will be based on the Maharal, based on various things that occur in the Sefer, and this is a very appropriate theme, I think, for Siyum, because the Siyum is really a shleimus, it's completing something. And like I said, these thoughts are taken directly from the Netzach Yisrael, so I think it's a very appropriate tie-in. Now, I mentioned before the importance of setting a goal and of having a starting point where you set out to accomplish a certain thing. So it turns out the setting of a goal, that initial stage, of starting out is intimately tied to the completion. It's not merely, or you had to start somewhere, and so you completed it. The starting point is intimately connected. It is part and parcel of the completion. And when I say that, I'm not just saying it's a question of semantics, that the definition of completion, you can't define, completion by definition means that you started something. It means a lot more than that. It means that when you reach a point of completion, it defines the starting point. It gives reality to the starting. The starting point only exists in a world of potential until you reach the point of completion. When you reach the point of completion, it now gives meaning and gives life to the starting point. And in some ways, it almost contracts time, so that the entire time, the entire process, becomes contracted into a single point. The entire thing creates a loop, so that the first point and then the end point become almost the same entity. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the word Siyum begins with the letter Samech, which is a closed letter, creates a loop, since Siyum really creates a loop. That first point and last point create a loop, and it becomes the same cycle, the same structure, if you will.